Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Natalia Moczulska and this is the news. Despite a boycott by part of the opposition, a resolution was passed defending St. John Paul II. Hatred towards the Polish Pope began to take on a real dimension. A plaque bearing the image of Karol Wojtyła was vandalized in the town of Skała. In response to the attack on the saint, the Gazeta Polska clubs are organizing a march to honor the memory of the Pope. MPs from Law and Justice and the Polish People's Party, among others, voted in favor of the resolution, while the left was against it. Civic Coalition parliamentarians took out their ballots. The exception was Joanna Fabisiak, who supported the resolution. The Sejm of the Republic of Poland strongly condemns the media's disgraceful campaign based largely on materials of the communist regime's apparatus of violence, the object of which is the great Pope, St. John Paul II, the most outstanding Pole in history. The adoption of the resolution was preceded by a heated debate. We managed to adopt a draft of this resolution, which is comprehensive and includes all the aspects we are concerned about. You want to include John Paul II in the Law and Justice Party today. You don't want to defend him. There would be no free Poland, there would be no free Europe, and there would be no free world without John Paul II. After the broadcast of the TVN24 television report, a wave of hatred against Karol Wojtyła appeared online. Internet hate brings unpleasant consequences in the real world. In the town of Skała in Małopolska province, unknown perpetrators vandalized a plaque dedicated to John Paul II. Maxima Culpa, John Paul II Knew, is the title of a book by Dutch journalist Eke Overbeck. The publication reproduces accusations of an alleged cover-up of pedophilia in the church by the former Metropolitan of Kraków, Archbishop Karol Wojtyła. The Dutch journalist has in the past attacked Jarosław Kaczyński for Russophobia and praised Donald Tusk for the Gazprom deal that made Poland dependent on the Russian supplier. Overbeck is an unreliable man. His greatest achievement is his book on Donald Tusk. He is a journalist unknown in the Netherlands. He is also criticized internationally by many specialists as an unreliable man, using indiscriminately sources produced by the security service, while he's unable to actually read these files. The Dutchman's book was used, but professional historians have reviewed it and say it is nothing. There is no hard basis there. These are like Tomasz Piątek's books. The attack on the Polish Pope is another test for the Polish Church. I am convinced that this situation should be looked at, of course, in the perspective of those elements that should be defined as threats, but also this is an opportunity. A certain interest in the person of John Paul II is awakening. Many people are posing open questions. Doubts are arising, and these should be answered. This, by the way, is being done. One of the responses to the media attack on St. John Paul II is the Papal March, organized by the clubs of Gazeta Polska. The event will take place on April 2nd, on the anniversary of the Pope's death. The route of the march will lead from the Pope's Cross on Piłsudski Square in Warsaw to the Archcathedral Basilica of St. John the Baptist. Day 380 of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Over the course of the day, the Russians attacked Ukraine with 84 missiles of various types. 34 were successfully shot down, the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported. Enemy forces are not abandoning their attempts to surround Bakhmut in the Donetsk region. Yesterday's attack led to the most extensive damage since December. For more than a day, Ukrainian services have been working to restore the efficiency of the power system. The most difficult situation is in Kharkiv and Zhytomyr, but reports of outages are coming in from localities across the country. The Zaporizhia Nuclear Power Plant has been disconnected from the power grid again. This is a critical situation. Russia is threatening our nuclear facilities and thus global security. The sooner the Russian nuclear industry is sanctioned, the sooner the security we know will return. 6 Kinjal missiles were used to attack critical infrastructure, the shooting down of which challenges Ukraine's defense system. Recently, Russia has been increasing its use of hypersonic missiles. One of them hit Kiev. I heard a loud explosion, even a very loud explosion. Terrified, we jumped out of bed. We saw burning cars on the street. The shockwave shattered the glass in the windows. Glass was sprinkled on balconies. Ukraine's general staff conveyed that Russia is shelling the regions under its occupation. Russian propaganda media blamed the attacks on the government in Kiev. I was preparing the bus before leaving the depot. A security guard came and asked me to help open the gate. Sergei also helped us. The gate creaked but would not open. Suddenly, there was an explosion. It was so powerful that Sergei flew 2 to 3 meters away. Look over there. My co-worker is lying dead. In addition, disturbing news is coming from Belarus. Alexander Lukashenko signed a law yesterday, according to which officials and military officers found guilty of treason can be sentenced to death. Serhiy Pilasa recognizes that Lukashenko plans to, in this way, bloodily combat Belarusian partisans who cooperate with Ukrainian forces. A partisan strike using drones damaged a Russian reconnaissance plane in Belarusian territory, causing Lukashenko to turn the screws. Paweł Łatuszka, who is now one of the Belarusian leaders of the democratic forces, has received repeated threats to assassinate him in various ways, including Lukashenko, who personally said he would strangle him with his own hands. In contrast, the government in Chisinau has reported that Moldova has become the target of hybrid attacks. Moscow is to be held responsible for coup attempts, disinformation, and inciting the population to revolt. This is an attempt to overthrow the government of President Maia Sandu, who was democratically elected for her pro-EU views in 2020, the authorities warn.
That after the war in Ukraine started, those levels increased, and not only this level, but and it's not topic of the Ministry of Defense, different phone calls of false bomb alarm at airport and etc.
Transnistria, a region on the eastern border with Ukraine, split from Moldova in 1990. The area is controlled by pro-Russian separatists and Russian troops who accuse the authorities in Kiev of wanting to seize Transnistria. Ukrainian presidential advisor Mikhailo Podolak believes that hybrid attacks on Moldova are part of the Kremlin's strategy to win the war in Ukraine. Ukraine has no reason to attack Transnistria. It would be pointless. What operational benefit would it have for us? These are known methods of Russia. Recall, there was talk of attacks on Russia, Belarus, and now Moldova, and Transnistria. These are deliberate propaganda efforts, because to these alleged attacks, Russia has responded militarily in the past. Earlier today in Paris, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and French President Emmanuel Macron discussed the situation in Ukraine, further military and financial aid to Kiev. We want to continue and better coordinate our support for Ukraine. We share the same analysis of events and the same desire. Russia cannot and should not win this war. By helping Ukraine and the Ukrainian people, we must resist on a humanitarian, economic, and military level, and we are doing everything we can to prevent this war from spreading.
I always say we left the EU, but we didn't leave Europe. And, Emmanuel said previously, Brexit didn't change geography. We want to have a close, cooperative, collaborative relationship with our European partners and allies. And of course, that starts with our nearest neighbor, France.
Meanwhile, today, Finnish Prime Minister Sanna Marin arrived in Kiev and met with Volodymyr Zelensky. The leaders attended the funeral ceremony of Dmitry Kochibaiwo, the legendary commander who was killed in Bakhmut. China's President Xi Jinping secured his third 5-year term in an unprecedented move to tighten his grip to become the country's most powerful leader since Mao Zedong. The state-run Xinhua news agency reported that the decision was unanimous. Nearly 3,000 members of China's rubber stamp parliament, the National People's Congress, voted unanimously in the Great Hall of the People for Xi, 69, to be president in an election where there was no other candidate, with voting lasting for about an hour and the electronic counting completed in about 15 minutes. For Xi, the stage was set for another term when he did away with presidential term limits in 2018. Last October, his power was already extended when he was reconfirmed for another 5 years as General Secretary of the Central Committee of the ruling Communist Party. Over the next 2 days, officials approved by Xi Jinping are set to be appointed or elected to fill top positions in the cabinet, including Premier-in-waiting Li Qiang, who is expected to be named China's #2 post, putting him in charge of managing the world's second-largest economy. And finally, a big black and white cat has become an internet sensation and a major tourist attraction in the Polish city of Szczecin. Word is spreading across Poland about Gothic, a cat who lives in a wooden house on a sidewalk near Szczecin's city center.
I'm here about Gothic from my friends from Warsaw, exactly. And they sent me article about him, and here I am.
Szczecin Tourist Information Center employee Szymon Maksymiuk said tourism to the city increased enormously since the Gothic frenzy started to take shape, and not just from people in Poland.
I like to see him, and it warms my heart because it's a chunky boy. But yeah, as a sidewalk attraction, very fine, very cool cat.
The famous cat's address is Szczecin's most highly rated tourist attraction on Google Maps. Having received scores of 5-star reviews, his Kaszubska Street pin has beaten sites including a Pomeranian Duke's Castle to the top spot.
We didn't know about that before, so it was something surprised that we're living here in the Szczecin and we don't know about like a touristic attraction or something like that. Now he's so famous in the world, so we can be proud of the cat who's living here.
While some fans attribute Gothic's fame to his confidence and cute face, others say it's his celebrity status that is attracting visitors.
Gothic tourism increased enormously. It was far beyond my expectation or imagination, and I can't even understand that properly. Why such hype happens?
A woman who owns a shop on Kaszubska Street cares for Gothic and feeds him raw meat. She puts a hot water bottle beside him when temperatures are low and takes him inside if heavy rain starts to fall.
I came to the city like the day before yesterday, and I'm looking for that cat named Gothic, and it was really cute, and my friend told me about it, so I hope I will find the cat, maybe today, maybe tomorrow.
Yet despite her attentiveness, there are concerns Gothic is starting to look quite chunky, as passers-by disregard the sign above his house, imploring people not to feed him.
The fact that he's suddenly became so famous is just it's heartwarming, but feeding not so much because he's already a little bit overweight due to the fact that he's been famous in Szczecin for a while and there was a lot of people coming in and feeding him.
Hi, my name is Gothic. I have been living here on Kaszubska Street for 6 years. I am a free-living cat and I want to stay that way. I'm happy to pose for pictures, but please don't pet me while I'm taking a nap. Sachets and treats are always welcome. Close them. My owner will open them for me. Thank you for respecting my requests. Many residents say they are pleased to have a cat celebrity call their city of Szczecin home. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Please stay tuned for Poland Daily Weather, Poland Daily Business, and some of our other programs. But for me, it's have a wonderful weekend.